Enzo Maresca must leave Chelsea Football Club immediately. A shambot. Nah, I'm joking. Could you imagine? You win some, you lose some, don't you? You really do. Shame to go out the cup tonight and to go out of a little bit of a whimper, really, if I'm being completely honest. Do you know what, right? I've banged out 3 videos today, 2 of which were on the boxing channel. One was going to go up earlier, and then I was waiting up tonight to do this video, and I haven't even took my medication, so I'm in so much pain. You lot, the hardcore, you know why. Jaw injury and whatnot, but I realised that when I take my medication, my mind slips, I'm drowsy as anything. I wanted to try and remember the game, but ultimately, there wasn't that much to remember, was there? It was 2-0 to Newcastle in the end, and if we had to lose to anyone, I suppose I was happy enough to lose to the Geordies. Hopefully, they go on and win it now. Should we speak about the game? Let's speak about the game. But people, before we get into all that, welcome back to the Joey Knight podcast. If you are new around here, please do subscribe to the channel. If you like the content and you want to see more from myself, smash the like button right now. That really helps me out. I wouldn't feel like hitting the like button on this video if I was you, but at the same time, just do it for me and just do it for the fact that I love you. Don't know why I'm looking over there. God knows what I'm doing. This is the starting lineup that we saw on screen right now, and as you can see, Jorgensen in goal, the sassy right back. It was more of a back three. Cucurella pushing up into that midfielder. What I would say, though, is, to be fair, I'd love to look at Cucurella's heat map tonight, because Cucurella was almost playing as a 10, like, you know, in pre-season when we were playing the 2 number 10s, almost playing like 5 up top. That was almost where Cucurella was playing in that second half. Vega and Enzo in the middle, João Felix in the 10, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall on the right wing. That didn't work, did it? Mudryk on the left wing, and then Nkunku up top. We will speak about all of these boys. Let's quickly start off going through the match. Newcastle looked a million times better than they did on Sunday, to be honest. They came out with a bit between their teeth and they were roared on by the Geordie faithful, which, honestly, that can be like a 12th man up at St James's Park. And I tell you what, within 2 minutes, they nearly go in front, because Isak whips in a ball and Joe Linton, unmarked at the back post, hits the post. Jorgensen would have got nowhere near it. It would have put them 1-0 up. It didn't. 7 minutes in, despite being pinned in our half for pretty much the whole first 10 minutes or 7 minutes, wherever this was in the game, we do get forward. Cucurella gets to the ball to the edge of the box. Now he cuts it back to Vega, who has a deflective shot, wins us a corner. Nothing really comes from it. 22 minutes in, Newcastle take the lead through Isak, who scores for the second time in just a matter of days against Chelsea. I believe that is 4 in 4 against Chelsea for Isak. So, good player. Yeah, again, it comes from us trying to play it out from the back. And do you know what? I know it's different personnel, but I don't think this Chelsea side are good at playing out from the back when we're being pressed at all, no matter who the personnel is. And that's not to say it can't be improved on. It's not to say it can't be worked on. But at the minute, it weren't working. And do you know what, right? When I looked at the team sheet, I knew that it would be, obviously, Cucurella inverting. And I thought, that's all right there. That's all right, because I've been impressed by Vega so far. Worst game in a Chelsea shirt so far for him today. But then again, I'm not going to stick knives in too much. Not too much to be too disappointed about, apart from the fact that we went out the cup. With the goal itself, we're trying to play out from the back. Badiashile passes to Renato Vega. He's just way too casual as he tries to put it onto Enzo Fernandez. And listen, it's a saying that's just dying in football, isn't it? If in doubt, put it out. But the problem is you put yourself in doubt when you're trying to play out from the back with a Newcastle team that are playing right to your back. They are pressing you. And just by the way, while I do this, I need to set my timer, because I put a cottage pie in the oven about 10 minutes ago. It's one of them Charlie Binghams. You seen them? So now, finally, after a few days, I'm being able to eat, but I can only eat like soft food and stuff like that. So I'm on the old Charlie Binghams. You know the Charlie Binghams out the posh supermarkets. They're like the ready meals, but they're like twice the price, but they're pretty banging. But a cottage pie is pretty bland, isn't it? And you just push it to the back of your throat and slip it down without chewing, Bevo style almost. That's what I'm having to do because of the whole jaw thing. But yeah, too casual. And despite not hitting the numbers that we're used to seeing him hit in Alexander Isak, he is now starting to hit those numbers. He converts past Jorgensen, as you would expect. A few minutes later, they attack up the left wing. Deflected cross comes in. It's Isak again who gets his head on it, knocks it back like that, bundles around the line, and somehow Disasi puts it into his own net. Half hour in, right? I honestly don't think that I've seen Chelsea play out successfully from the back once. I don't think there's been more than 2-3 passes strung together where we've actually been able to even get the ball forward, let alone just go without being dispossessed. And it's really a frustrating watch for me at this point, because I'm thinking, if we had Caicedo on the pitch, if we had Lavia on the pitch, these are boys that when they do have players press them quickly, they have the ability to hold on to the ball, to turn with the ball in occasions, or at least to find the right ball to then put on and go forward with. And when you do that, then there'll be loads of space. Because in the first half, right, we'd have had loads of space, loads of opportunities to score against Newcastle because they were pressing us hard. But we weren't able to do that because Vega didn't have a very good game. Enzo Fernandez out there looked like, you know, how he's looked in a lot of games recently. One of them things of Enzo, like, he's not doing anything horrific, but he's not doing anything terrific. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you're not really looking like a £50 million player, let alone a £100 million player. So frustrating for us, because if we did have someone who was able to take the ball on the turn and release it quickly, then the likes of João Felix, who looked quite lively in the first half, and he actually, I think, created the most chances, or I think he had 3 shots on goal in the first half, which is more than anyone else for Chelsea. We could have got the ball to him, and maybe with players like Romeo Lavia and Enzo Fernandez in there, then we might have. But I think there was a very clear intention of what we were going for tonight and what's important to us, and we get onto that. But either way, first half, Vega's having a bit of a stinker. Enzo ain't doing much else. Cucurella's playing centre forward. I don't know, mate. 38 minutes in, João Felix gets an effort on target. Good strike, but it's straight at Nick Pope, to be honest. And when half-time comes, I'm looking at the bench, mate, and I'm thinking, if we want to stay in this competition, we need to get Palmer on now, because no Palmer, no party. And unfortunately, we got Madueke on, and he did change things a little bit. He did offer us a lot more creativity, way more than Kiernan Dewsbury Hall was offering us on that right flank, by the way. But at the same time, you got to be honest, I think Enzo Maresca was very, very hesitant to risk any of them. Now, second half, we were actually better, right? We were actually better, but it comes down more to the fact, and I sound like I'm being very pessimistic here, but it comes down more to the fact for me that Newcastle had a 2-goal lead by that point. So we're going to look a little bit better because they're not having to press us and then risk the exploitation of us being able to run in behind them when they can just sit back, catch us on the counter-attack every now and again and defend their lead. And they know that from the first half, when they were giving us space and we weren't able to convert because we didn't have the likes of Nicholas Jackson, Cole Palmer and those boys on the pitch, or even some of them on the bench, that we weren't going to be able to score past them when, you know, they were sitting back and doing what they were doing. So a little bit frustrating for me. There was a moment, right, really weird moment. Enzo puts the ball back to Jorgensen. Jorgensen literally has it on his goal line and he's being chased down by Anthony Gordon, and he cuts it back, right, and just about saves it from one of the most embarrassing howlers you could see. And the commentary start going mad for it as if it was saying good, and I'm thinking, fuck off, like, that was just fucking stupid, do you know what I mean? And Jorgensen tonight, he done nothing to make me think that he should be ahead of Sanchez at all. Like, all I'm seeing from these last few games, and listen, again, I'm not being too pessimistic because I'm in the studio with a big dog tomorrow. My mouth is starting to feel a little bit better. I reckon tomorrow, by the time I've had all these antibiotics tonight, I might be waking up feeling $1 million, mate. So, well, I won't be because Chelsea just lost. But I think we're definitely better in that second half. I did think we did start to create a little bit more. And we also should have had a penalty. Now, I moan about VAR all the time, but Noni Madueke, who was creating for us when he actually came on, he skips past Anthony Gordon. Anthony Gordon decides to get both hands on him, takes him down. No VAR, no penalty. If there was VAR, we would have got a penalty there. Either way, I moan about it all the time, so I can't moan too much. On the hour mark, right, Mudryk makes a really good run in behind. It's Badiashile, who, by the way, Badiashile, right, he weren't even that bad today, and creatively, like, he threaded a few lovely balls through Badiashile. He's got an eye for a pass sometimes, you know, and the more I see tossing and Vega's performance today, I mean, I change my mind like the fucking weather, but when I talk about the first taxi off the rank in terms of moving into the back line, maybe if one of Fofana or Colwell does get injured, maybe it'd be Badiashile, because he looks alright, but he threads this ball through to Mudryk, and it's almost like what we saw against Nottingham Forest last season. Do you remember that goal when Mudryk scored? Great, away at the City ground. Mudryk puts it into Nkunku. Nkunku completely misjudges it, miskicks it, I think, but Nkunku, again, he was rubbish tonight. 73 minutes in, Newcastle do have the ball in the back of the net again through Brian's favourite player, Sean Longstaff. It's a header. It's ruled out for offside. Within a second of that, this is where we lose the match. And you're going to say to me, hold on, how did we lose the match here? Like, we were 2-0 down. But I'm telling you, this is where we lose the match. Because João Felix misses an absolute sitter. Dan Burn literally overstretches and falls over when the ball's played through. And João Felix has options. He can take it around Nick Pope, which I'm sure he would have been able to do. He can tap it past him. You'd fancy João Felix to hit the target in that scenario. And it's almost like he tries to take the touch to take it past him, but he overcooks the touch. The touch ends up looking more like a displaced shot. I don't know what the fuck it was, but it was shit. And at that point was when I gave up hope on the game. And do you know what? If that goal had gone in, right, with 15 odd minutes to play, I genuinely do think that Enzo Maresca would have made substitutes and would have maybe looked to pile on the pressure late. But I think once that didn't go in, we just pretty much resigned ourselves to defeat. So there you go. And I think it says a lot about the fact that Enzo Maresca did only make that one substitute where, you know, I think that now, listen, away at Old Trafford, we haven't won away at Old Trafford in a long, long time. So I think away at Old Trafford, no matter what sort of form Man United are going to be in, you can't just rock up there expecting 3 points. Because I did that last season. I remember me and Brian did a watch-along, right? Just me and Brian did a watch-along. We got absolutely smashed. I remember it being like 3 a.m. We were still on a piss and just sat there and I'm thinking, I need to go home, man. I really do need to book an Uber and go home. But either way, I'm digressing. But we watched that game, and that was a bad game for us because I thought Chelsea were going to rock up there and do something. And the only person that did was Cole Palmer when he scored a good effort past Onana. But what I think is that Enzo Maresca very firmly has eyes on Old Trafford on Sunday and very firmly wanted to wrap the boys in cotton wool, so much so that he didn't even let them on the pitch. Had João Felix have scored when he had that opportunity to do so, I do think you'd have seen Cole Palmer brought on because I think that maybe then we're within a chance. But when there's a 2-goal margin there, you're just not going to get it, really. General thought is that we just weren't at the races tonight. We really weren't at the races, you know. We looked tired. We looked second best to every ball in the first half. Do you know what it's like, right? It's like I've sparred for former opponents of mine that I've beat, and sometimes they just bash me up in sparring. And it's like, hold on, we had a real fight and I beat you. And it's like, yeah, because when it matters, I turned it on. And when it don't really matter, I didn't turn it on. And although I would have absolutely loved to have won this cup this season, we got to the final last season. I was gutted and deflated when we lost against Liverpool, but at the same time, I don't think Enzo Maresca valued it all that high. I think Enzo Maresca is literally looking at this season, and we don't know how he'll approach the FA Cup, but I think he's looking at this season and he's going, I want to win that Conference League and I want to get top 4 in the Premier League. And those are the two things that he's aiming towards. And fair play to him, really. I've already spoke about Jorgensen. He did nothing tonight. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, now he had an opportunity early on that he managed to make as tame as possible, just rolling it at Nick Pope. And he was subbed off 10 minutes into the second half for Madueke, to my pleasure, because he was doing nothing over on that right-hand side. And do you know what, right? I don't want to be too harsh on Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. I really hope it starts to click for him, starts to tick for him, and things start to go well for him. But now going out of this cup, I don't know, how many minutes is he going to get? Is he even a starter in that B team in the Conference League? Because I think I've seen one good match from Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall so far, and at 45 million, listen, if I call Enzo out for being £100 million and not playing that well, you got to sort of call Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall out a little bit for it. I didn't think he was going to come in and be a game changer, but I thought he would be somewhat of a competent cog in our system. And so far, as I say, I've only really seen him have one good game. Enzo Fernandez, bad first half, better second half. I can put it down, a lot of misplaced passes in that first half, dispossessed a couple of times. I can put it down to the fact that when the pressure wasn't being put on us as much in the second half, Enzo Fernandez was able to get the ball and look forward a little bit more, be a little bit more creative, put a few passes together, but he was just a ticker, to be honest. He was just ticking things over, and that's all well and good, but, you know, we had Jorginho at the club, didn't we? And at the moment, is Enzo better than Jorginho? I don't know. I really don't know. But I'll tell you one man who did put an effort in tonight, and I think did overall probably look our most creative player, and it was mostly from his second half contribution. And some of that did come from Enzo Fernandez, to be fair, linking up well with him over on the left-hand side. And that's Josh's boy, Mykhailo Mudryk. I actually thought, like, although João Felix will be the man that comes away from tonight with the most sort of shots on goal and the most actual clear-cut chances, I thought Mudryk was probably our best player tonight. I don't know if you lot would agree. Would you agree with that? I thought that he was constantly trying, beat his man a couple of times. I thought that actually his delivery and his passing was quite accurate. I haven't got any stats, so I can't back it up, but I don't know. Thought he was all right tonight, Mudryk. Thought he did do well. I don't think anyone tonight give a case of getting in to that first team, you know, the A team, shall we call it. Definitely not Nkunku. He had a poor game, really had no joy. And, yeah, don't really know. Could this loss affect morale going forward? Because obviously it means that some of these B team boys are going to get less game time now. But then again, even if we had got to the final, there's only been about 3 more games left, so I don't think it really matters all that much, to be honest. But yeah, not great. And I think we've asked the question a few times when we've seen us look pretty penetrative, pretty potent, pretty good in that UEFA Conference League. I think we've asked the question a few times, like, oh, you know, are these boys good enough for the Premier League? And I think on tonight's showing, you'd have to say, nah, a lot of them ain't. Do you know what I mean? But it can improve. We couldn't just have a bad day at the office. And do you know what? If you had said to me, look, you can go out the cup to Newcastle, but you can get the win against them in the league, I'd have picked the win against them in the league. And do you know what? I think Enzo Maresca would have too. So, as much as I never like to see Chelsea lose, I'm not that disappointed. Like, I'm disappointed, but I'm not gutted. Do you know what I mean? It's not feel like pure shit, just want the FL Cup back. Do you know what I mean? It's not them sort of vibes. But the good news is that we're going to be starting an entirely different 11 in the Premier League on Sunday. We go into Old Trafford against Man United, and they might have blitzed Leicester 5-2 tonight, but they still don't know what they're doing just yet under Ruud van Nistelrooy. And I think that we've probably got a lesser chance than we did of pulling off a win there than when Ten Hag was there. But a chance is a chance nevertheless. And I honestly do think that we don't need to panic at all off of tonight's showing. Like, there's nothing to panic about. Newcastle are a decent side. Their form this season might not show it, but I've banged on for what seems like the best part of 10 days now about Newcastle, because we've had a couple of fixtures against them. They're a decent side. They're a good outfit, Newcastle. There's no massive shame in losing to them. The damage was done in the first half. We were a little bit better in the second half. They hit the post, I suppose, a couple of times, so could have been 4-0 to be honest. So not a great showing at all. Feel sorry for the boys that travelled up there, if I'm being completely honest. But it is what it is. I'm in the studio with Josh tomorrow. It's going to be good vibes. It's not like we're coming in off the back of some deflating, horrible, horrible defeat. And it is what it is. That's all I can say. It is what it is. We're out the cup. We're still going to win the Conference League. We're still going to finish top 4 in the Premier League. And I'm not too unhappy about what I've seen. Because when you stick Cole Palmer in there, Pedro Neto in there, Lavia, Caicedo, Noni Madueke for a full 90 minutes, Levi Colwell, oh, God. Yeah. Man of the match? Let's give it to Mudryk. Let's give it to Mudryk. I know Josh would like to give it to Mudryk. I reckon he'd probably give him man of the match too. Right, people, listen. I'll see you in the next one.